Listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game.
If you're looking for the best basketball talk in the universe, you just found it. This is Deep Hoops, where fans are the host. Tim Brayboy, Troy Ramel Royal, and me, your point guard, Jehudi. We're talking basketball, all basketball, and nothing but basketball. So sit back and enjoy the best basketball talk in the podcast universe. This is Deep Hoops. Well, welcome to Deep Hoops. I am the minister.
And I'm Ra.
And we'd like to, once again, welcome you to Deep Hoops, where we're not experts, but we're passionate fans talking about the game that we love. What's up, Ra?
How you doing?
I'm doing outstanding, man. I'm doing outstanding.
Good.
Week 3, I guess it's week 2 in the NBA, but week 3 for us.
Yes, it is.
And there's a lot to really chop up and get into, so we're just going to jump right into it.
Sure.
We're going to deal with the week in review. This past week, there were a lot of things that caught my eye, and I'm just going to name a few, and then I'm going to throw it over to you. The buzzer beaters. Andrew Wiggins with a big buzzer beater when against OKC, beating out OKC. Eric Gordon, Philly, playing Houston so tight, but within the last minute, gave up a 9-point lead, and Eric Gordon hit a big three-pointer to beat at the buzzer to win the game. Those are a couple of things that caught my eye. There's a couple of other things that caught my eye. Cleveland not playing as well. OKC being up and down, and we're going to talk about that. But what are some of the things that caught your eye?
Well, you touched on most of them, but the one that you didn't mention, Boston. Boston has really caught my attention. They're 3-0 in the last week. Mm-hmm. They beat the Knicks, they beat Milwaukee, and they beat Miami. Now, some might say, well, what's the significance behind it? Well, they came into the season with aspirations to contend for a title.
Right.
Okay? And like 5 minutes into the season, they lose their number 2 option, perhaps for the season.
Exactly.
And they lost their following game against Milwaukee. And I guess the hangover from the injury, so forth. But since that loss, and this is, we touched on it with Brad Stevens. He's clearly a top 3 coach in this league.
No doubt.
But he's gathered the troops together. They've regrouped. They're refocused. And they're back to, I guess, on their way to that goal of competing for the title.
Whoa. Do you think, do you really think last week's sample size is enough to let you think that they're really ready, they're back at that place where they were at the start of the season to compete for a finals?
Personally, I don't think they can match that. But what I was alluding to is the fact that I just believe that their focus is back on track.
Okay.
Their focus to their goal is back on track. Whether they have the talent to get it done, that's to be determined, and I don't think so. But their focus is back, and they're playing some outstanding ball, and they're cohesive as a unit. And to me, Kyrie Irving's been Kyrie Irving. Jason Tatum is a Rookie of the Year candidate. Jaylen Brown is looking like most improved player. They're getting steady play out of Al Horford. Marcus Smart was injured. He's back. Rozier is playing good ball. And with all of that I'm saying about them, the MVP is Brad Stevens.
Right.
The guy...
The coach of the Boston Celtics, for those of you that don't know who Brad Stevens is.
The guy has not let this team down. He does not let the organization down. And that's what I mean by that their goal is back on track.
But you said something, even though we're dealing in the week of review, I just can't let it go by, and I really want to chop that up. You talked about you're not sure if they have the talent. What would you say they're lacking?
Well, here's the thing. I believe that Gordon Hayward is clearly a second option. Can Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum fill that bill? If one of them could fill that bill the rest of the way, because you can ink Gordon in for 20 points a night. If you can ink one of those players in for 20 points a night, then maybe they're closer to where they were at the start of the season.
So let me ask you this.
Sure.
You need Kyrie to give you 20, and then you need another player to at least consistently give you 20.
Yes.
And then you need the third option to give you somewhere between 15 and 20.
Yes, threat for 20. That is correct.
Okay. So if you're getting a consistent 20 out of Kyrie, and you're getting either Jalen or Tatum giving you 20.
Right.
And then you have Horford that Horford is going to give you 15 to 20. So do you have to have one person being that second, or could you have a two-headed beast between Jason Tatum and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown giving you that 20?
Yeah, I have Horford in for 15 points.
Right. 15 to 20.
15 points, 12 rebounds.
Right.
Okay. I have Kyrie for 23 points.
Okay.
All right. Here's where it gets a little dicey. Between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, you got to have close to 40 points.
I think they can get that.
If you can get that between those two, because one thing about their bench, I don't know who most of the bench is outside
But
of.
Brad gets something out of everyone on the team.
And that's what I was going to say. He gets the most out of his players. They come in there. If they have a lead, they don't lose the lead. Sometimes if they down, they catch up.
Right.
I mean, he does a good job in blending the starters with the bench. So you're going to get maximum play out of bench. You got Baines in there, a 7-foot guy. He looking mobile and athletic. I mean, he gets this is a San Antonio project that's no longer in San. He gets the most of these players. So the bench don't worry me as much as the starting five does, because you got to have some consistency on the numbers from there.
But, and to that point, and we're getting off track. We're talking about the week in review. But I think that's a great topic, really drilling down on Boston. I think Boston is a team that you could really drill down on because you have a great coach, you have a great player in Kyrie,
yes,
and then you have up-and-coming greatness and a very steady player in Horford.
Correct.
And then you have a very steady player in
Marcus Smart.
Smart. So that is, at the end of the day, people like names. I like teams. Brad Stevens has a team, and he has a few names, but he is assembling and really pulling together a team. And we're going to talk about that, where you have a bunch of names. A bunch of names does not necessarily make a team. Yeah. Less sometimes is more. And you said that last week. But let's move on. You talked about Boston being a surprise. Some of the games this week with the buzzer beaters, Wiggins with that last-second buzzer beater, Brett Brown. We're going to talk about hot seat. I'm not going to necessarily say that he's on the hot seat, but he lost that game.
Well, I watched that game, and part of it is that Ben Simmons is playing the point guard for them. He's kind of playing a LeBron James type role on that team.
Right.
And I watch him. I think he can grow into a LeBron-like figure.
No doubt.
Will he have the success that LeBron had? That's to be determined.
And you know what? I'll go one step back. And not a LeBron, but a Pippen. Because LeBron is so explosive. I don't think he's as explosive as LeBron. But he can facilitate and score just like Pippen can facilitate and score. I'm very careful of calling, and I'm not a LeBron fan, but I'm very careful to not call someone a LeBron. I think he's more Pippen-ish than LeBron-ish.
Well, he's playing a similar role as LeBron does in Cleveland. And he's only 19 years old. He's still going to grow. He's still going to fill out. And one of the advantages he might have is his left hand. I watch him. To me, almost looks like an athletic point guard, Derek Coleman, with that left hand. And he's going to be a force. But I think with him playing point guard this early in his career, it helped. It hurt them in that loss against. I thought they needed a point guard to settle down. You know, sometimes when you need to stop the bleeding, a timeout helps. A coach calls a timeout. But in this case, I just think they needed a point guard by trade to kind of slow it down a little.
What type of point guard? And I'm not disagreeing with that point. But I'll make this point. What type of point guard do you need to just get the ball down to Embiid? Brett Brown should have had a play. Embiid was out at the three-point line. Embiid should have had himself in the post with a minute and less left. I don't want my center, who they have already shown no one can stop him all game long, and he's out at the three-point line. No, his butt should have been in the post. And it doesn't take the greatest point guard. It doesn't take Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, or John Stockton to get the ball to Embiid in the post.
Yeah, your point is valid. I won't go against you. Yeah, perhaps it is poor coaching, but a point guard, and maybe a seasoned point guard.
And maybe that's what they need. At that point, at the end of the game, because, I mean, we could talk about the shoulder for Fultz.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that. What is it about first-round picks and Philly and injuries?
Could we be looking at the new Clippers?
Maybe.
Of 20 years ago?
Right? Exactly. I mean, you get a player, but, at least there's hope with Philly. Every time someone went over to the Clippers, it was hopeless. Yeah. I mean, what was his candy? What was his name?
Oliver
Cotton
Candy.
Oliver Candy. I mean, they
Sean Livingston.
Sean
Livingston.
But he made a comeback.
Yes.
But, I mean, so Fultz hurt. Maybe what they need, like you're saying, is a veteran point at the end of the game that knows how to control the offense and not go willy-nilly. But I'm sorry. I lay it all on Brett Brown. Brett Brown has been getting a pass because he's had these teams that are, marred with injury, and, he hasn't really had a full team. But little things like that, when all eyes are on you, and you said, well, things didn't work out the way they were supposed to. No, with a minute left and you're up by 9, you're not supposed to lose that game.
You shouldn't lose the game. I agree.
I'm sorry.
I agree with that. Poor execution down there, down the stretch. Perhaps maybe poor game planning. Maybe this is all on the head coach. You got a timeout. You got to slow the game down. And regroup.
At the most, and I don't want to just, we can move on. At the most, Embiid, get your butt in the post. Get in the post. Simmons, get him the ball in the post, and then cut. So now, in all game long, they couldn't stop him.
Yeah.
And the other players were going to double and triple team him.
Oh, absolutely.
So either it was going to be an easy shot for Riddick. That was going to be an easy shot for him, for anyone. So I would have said, okay, we lost because we got the ball to Embiid. He kicked it out, which is a basketball play, and they missed the shot. But I'm not going to say we lost because we never got the ball to him. He went down 3 straight possessions and never touched the ball.
I remember a quote by Kenny Smith, and he had said Olajuwon told him one time, he said, I don't want to lose the game for us, Kenny. Kenny told him, Olajuwon, you're the only one on the team that can lose the game for us, and no one says nothing.
Anything. Right.
And that's the same thing with Embiid.
Right.
Get down there, ask for the ball, and make something happen. Because if we lose the game because you didn't make a shot, that's all right.
Right.
That's all right.
And how about your Knicks? Do you have any thoughts on your Knicks this week? They got their first victory.
I do, but before I speak on that, I want to say something about LaMarcus Aldridge.
Okay.
All right, LaMarcus Aldridge was getting all kind of business during the summer. He almost was traded on draft day. For whatever reason, out of the blue, just before the season started, San Antonio extended his contract.
Yeah.
After looking to trade him and seemed to be unhappy with him in the playoffs, and especially in the absence of Kawhi Leonard once he went down in that Golden State series. But as we speak, prior to today's game, he's averaging 25.2, 9.2 rebounds, 2.2 assists, 1.4 blocks. That's a coming out party. This is the LaMarcus Aldridge that I believe San Antonio was hoping to have when they signed him to replace Tim Duncan. If he can maintain not the stats, but just that momentum, and when Kawhi comes back, that's going to be a healthy San Antonio. And I'm going to tell you, to keep an eye on, the second-year guy, DeJounte Murray, I can't think of his name, the point guard over there.
Yes.
I saw something in a clip where LaMarcus Aldridge was getting in a fight with Serge Ibaka. A little pushing and shoving was going on, and they had to be separated. And this guy's a second-year player, barely played. He's only playing because Tony Parker is out. He went over immediately to try to settle him down, showing some kind of leadership as a point guard. Now, he's only 20 years old. He doesn't have the game to be even considered as a top point guard, but you like to see that. But here's what really, really, really impressed me. Popovich came over to kind of talk to LaMarcus Aldridge, and he pushed Pop away. And Pop walked away. And when I saw that, all I can do is thumbs up for the youngster. Because not only that, he's showing leadership, but he will never be at the end of the bench on Pop's team because I think Pop respects that.
And what he was telling Pop is, I got this. You know, I'm your extension of the coach on the floor. I got this. I can calm him down. No need for you to say anything. I like that. One last thing as we look at the weekend review. There's a million things that we can go over, but if we would be remiss if we didn't talk about this, the Orlando Magic.
Outstanding. I mean, they're 4-1 going into today's game.
San Antonio's only loss going into today's game was against them. To be exact, San Antonio lost to them and couldn't get it together today and lost again today. They was like, we lost to Orlando.
But, you know, they're being coached by Frank Vogel.
Right. He's got them playing D.
They're playing good
They're
ball.
They're moving that ball.
They have some veterans over there.
Right.
You got Bismack Biyombo coming off the bench. You have Spates coming off the bench. You have DJ Augustine over there. The point guard, Efra Payton, is playing good ball. Fournier at the two guard. Vukovic, the center. And then Aaron Gordon is looking like most improved player at this point. It's a good look for this team. There was some whispers on one of the sports shows that I listened to on the radio that had Orlando Magic as a playoff team, number 6, and I was like, nah. But I'm going to pay attention to them. I really am going to pay attention to them.
Big wins.
Big wins.
They beat Cleveland.
They beat San Antonio.
And they beat Miami.
They lost to Brooklyn and then revenged the loss by beating Brooklyn. And there was one more win that they had, but they're 4-1 going into today's game. I'm going to keep an eye on them.
You know, the thing that impresses me, the ball is not sticking. The ball is moving. And in today's NBA, when you have hero ball or that ball doesn't move, you have challenges.
Yes.
And I think the teams that are struggling as we move into the next topic, they haven't figured out how to move that ball. You know, you have superstars that are supposed to take over. Mm-hmm. And what they have to do is trust the system, trust the process, and not rely on one individual, but move that ball.
Move the ball.
Rely on team concept. That's what San Antonio has done. Success. That's what Golden State has done. Success. That's what Cleveland tried to do, but LeBron every so often will let the ball stick. But, successful teams past and present, move the ball.
Yes.
And when that ball is moving, you can have success. But let's. Did you want to talk about anything else last week?
You mentioned the Knicks, and
And they just won.
where do I start? Everybody who knows me knows that I'm a huge Knicks fan. All right? The best move from the Knicks in the last couple of days was Hornacek inserting Jarrett Jack into the starting lineup. And since he's done that, they won their first game on Friday night, and then they had a big win tonight against Cleveland where they won by 19. Jarrett Jack is not your typical starting point guard, but he's very capable of playing point guard. He's hit some big shots in his time, and remember he was there in Golden State before Curry, and but since he's been inserted into the starting lineup, Knicks has been playing some good ball. Porzingis is averaging near 30 a game. The ball is moving. The youngster, Frank, I gotta say,
The kid from
France.
France.
I'm not sure if he's a starter in this league at this point, but I believe he could play in this league.
So Phil Jackson did something. He should have taken.
He should have taken Dennis Smith, but I believe this guy. I thought worst case scenario he's Dennis Schroeder, and he might be Dennis Schroeder, but his long arms, he plays good defense. He's got a great feel for the game. Hey, I've seen some of his passes. The guy can hit the outlet pass. He gets rid of the ball quickly. And quiet as kept, the Knicks got a couple of shooters on the team. When that ball gets out there quickly, McDermott, he hits the open shot. Porzingis has been hitting the open shot. Tim Hardaway's shot, he found it tonight. I think he had about 6 3-pointers going tonight. So the Knicks right now in this little 2-game win streak, I gotta say, I'm a bit impressed. I still will make some moves, but I'm impressed at this point.
Well, we always want to know the moves that you would make, Rob, because so as we move out of talking about the week in review, I failed to bring up one of the major things that happened. Eric Bledsoe tweeting, "I'm out of here. I want out of here," and he was saying that he was talking about being with his girlfriend in the beauty salon. I don't buy that. He wants, come on, man, in the beauty salon. Really? He was in the beauty salon. But, he wants out of Phoenix. I don't blame him. Phoenix, and that's going to be a part of my closing comments, the GM and Phoenix. But what are your thoughts? He wants out. He's got to be traded now. Well, you know what?
Let's save that for Rod, the GM.
Okay, all right. That's the new segment. We'll save that for Rod, the GM.
Rod, the GM.
So that's okay. All right, we'll leave that alone. Let's move on. I listen, doing this and just being the fan that I am and that you are. We listen to a lot of sports talk. We listen to NBA Sirius Radio. We read as much as we can, and everyone is pushing the panic button in a few areas. First of all, Lonzo Ball. He's nothing. One day he's nothing. He's terrible. He's the worst thing. They should have picked someone else. They should have never gotten rid of the other point guard, D'Angelo Russell. Then the next game, he's the next thing since Magic Johnson. Slow your roll. Don't get too high with the high and too low with the lows. Panic button. Minnesota Timberwolves. People are pushing the panic button. Tibbs should be fired. Tibbs is no good coach. They should bring back Sam Mitchell. Slow your roll. They shouldn't have gotten rid of Sam Mitchell, but he's there now. Slow your roll. So, there's a couple of areas where people are pushing the panic button. The OKC Thunder, they're pushing the panic button. What are your thoughts on people pushing the panic button so early in the season?
I spoke about it earlier when we talked about Boston. I really think it's too soon to push the panic button. If there was a situation for any franchise, organization, or fans to push the panic button, it was when the injury occurred with Gordon Hayward. But as you can see, and we touched on it, Brad Stevens is regrouped, and that team is retooled, refocused. In fact, they've been awarded a injury exception of $8.4 million. So they're probably going to look to sign an available free agent that's out there. But to that point, it's just too soon to push the panic button. I think, and some of the teams that were mentioned, OKC, Minnesota, you're talking about a complete overall.
Right.
And in the case of OKC, they made 2 major trades, Paul George and Carmelo.
And they got to fit them in.
So what's happening is the team that you rolled with last year, you probably lost 6, 7 players and brought back 2. And now you're relying on D-leaguers like Terrence Ferguson, rookies, and maybe some players that didn't even play last year. So they need time to gel. And keep this in mind too. It was only a 5-game preseason.
Right.
So that's not enough time to put things in order. Now let's switch gears to Minnesota. You make a trade for Butler. All right. You bring in Jeff Teague. You trade Ricky Rubio. You bring in Taj Gibson. Your starting lineup is different from last year. In fact, if I will say something negative about Tibbs is that he shouldn't start Taj Gibson. He didn't start him in Chicago.
Right.
He didn't start in OKC. The best of Gibson is coming off the bench. Put Gorgio Ding back into the starting lineup. He was there last year. Let him have that role. Let Gibson come off the bench. But no, I don't think there's a panic. But Lonzo Ball, is there a panic there? No. He just turned 19, 20 years old 2, 3 days ago. Let him mature. Let him grow. Remember, he don't have help in L.A. Do they have a nice little nucleus brewing? Absolutely. Kuzma is probably going to make the all-rookie team.
Yeah.
He's probably going to make the all-rookie team. I already see Kuzma, Tatum, and Lonzo Ball on the first team already.
Right.
Just let it go. I mean, if you want to knock Lonzo Ball for anything, he's just not aggressive. I was on the air today with NBA Radio talking about Malcolm Brogdon, and I like him so much. And I said the LA organization, the Laker fans, would love if Lonzo Ball played with the same aggressiveness as this guy here. The guy is a facilitator, just like Lonzo Ball, but he's also aggressive to the basket. Now, you may laugh on this, and I know the fans out there is going to laugh on this, and I know it's early, but if there is a team that you want to push the panic button on, it's the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Oh, come on. Are you ready to push this?
It's the Cleveland Cavaliers.
They had an overhaul.
Yeah, but they got LeBron James that's went to 7 straight finals. They shouldn't be going through what they're going through. They lost to the Knicks tonight by 19. They lost to the Magic by 21. They lost to the Nets, the Pelicans. As we speak, they're under 500 and out of the playoffs.
Raw. You're raw being raw. This is raw stirring the drink. I mean, are you really pushing the panic button on Cleveland?
It's early.
Yeah,
but
okay.
Why not have a laugh?
Okay.
But I will say this. Cleveland does have some issues right now.
Cleveland will never admit this. LeBron especially will never admit this. They miss Kyrie more than they even thought they would.
Well, they miss him now because they can't use Isaiah Thomas.
Right.
But yes, I agree.
But I'm going to say this. When Isaiah Thomas comes back, they will still miss what Kyrie brings to them.
Because here's what's going to happen. At least going into the season with Kyrie Irving, you had chemistry.
Right.
Now
halfway through the season, now you're going to bring them in and you're going to have to try to create chemistry.
New chemistry.
Right.
So it's going to be an issue. I think that Cleveland has more problems than they tend to believe. Now, does that mean it prevents them from going to the Eastern Conference Finals? No. But I do believe that they do have some issues right now. And yes, in a sense, it is time to panic because as we get into our next topic, it could center around Tyronn Lue.
Well, what a segue. I was going to use Tyronn Lue to be the segue, but you just did it.